When it comes to IPA, do you let your beaver rage? Hey, it's Bryon back with a beer review, and today from Damascus Brewery, from Damascus, Virginia, a small town up the road, and there goes Dozer, we have Beaver Rage IPA. This is the last of a mix pack that I bought. I was the first person apparently to ever want to do a mix pack. I did 2 of 3 different beers, 2 each. And that's basically the 3 they had canned, and then I got a big can of something else, which that was the pumpkin stout. So you can see about when this was. This has been in my refrigerator since Thanksgiving, and I'm finally gonna drink the second one and review it. I think actually, I think I stand corrected. No, I did the mango, I did the sour, didn't I? Seem to remember editing that video already. But anyway, this is one of their more popular beers. And I think you can find this one on Untapped. I don't know the full story about Damascus. There's like Beaver Dam Road and some other stuff. There's I guess it's a river, it's a creek, it's a big wide creek. I think eventually it leads into the south branch of the Holston River or something like that. And I'm not positive. But anyway, apparently they must have beavers. I don't know if there's any beavers there now. I doubt it. Probably too many people around. They have some festival, when is it, Mountain Days? I want to say it's in June, but I'm not positive. It's one of these things, it's like, oh, they're having a festival this weekend, as we're driving through. Some good restaurants, the chicken restaurant, there's a thing in Mountain City, I think it's called Church Station, and they're known for some chicken. And then it's like something chicken, crazy chicken, something in Damascus, and they're much better. And it's like a small little house. And it's really a nice weather restaurant, because inside they hardly have any room, but outside they can have like 4 times as many people. And I still haven't visited the distillery, and the people are going, you're 2 minutes in and you haven't opened the beer yet. Correct. Now, I will say this about this IPA. I don't know why they call it an IPA. It's a brown ale, okay? With hops. It's not your malty brown ale, and so it has some of the flavor characteristics of an IPA, and it has some of the flavor characteristics of a brown ale. And you'll soon see why when I pour it, because it's on the darker side of golden, and I don't know if they're using caramel malts or caramel malts, but there's definitely a roasted nuttiness to it, and I think it's on purpose. So as you can see, here we go. But nice head on there. Now that looks like it's real. That doesn't look like a bright tank. It's nice and thick, but you smell it. There's like this, like I said, this roastiness that you would expect from a brown ale. Now, I don't mean like a dark porter, just a pale brown ale. A little bit darker than this, a little bit more brown, but same kind of translucency. But you notice a hop backbone, and it's not tropical. It's almost woody. It's not piney, but it's almost woody. And so it's an interesting balance, especially given the name. And I don't know, okay, Beaver Rage is your next favorite beer. Hoppy, but not overly bitter. At 45 IBUs, this beer satisfies your hop cravings without destroying your taste palace. This beer's ruby red color, rich malt backbone, told you, and 7% ABV is here to rock your world. So I'm glad I did not read that. I didn't even know what was on there. I just like, I wonder what's on here. So yeah, raising ale along the trail since 2013. Yeah, I mean, this is like a home brewer's go-to beer. It's got the hoppiness, you got that dryness from the hops. There's a little bit of resin characteristics there. It almost feels like it's dry hopped secondary. It has, I've only noticed this in my beers when I've used whole flower hops, and I've dry hopped in the secondary, or right after crash. Or some people will do is they'll cool it down to a certain temperature, throw their hops in, and then they'll break it from there and then everything kind of falls out, and then they rack it to primary. But man, that's good. I mean, this is a good beer. This is definitely, if you wanted to introduce somebody to hoppy beers, especially if they liked darker beers. I mean, if they're coming from Miller Lite, they're not going to like this. But if someone likes the maltier beers, now I don't mean, big porters and really deep brown ales or honey brown or something like that. That's a little bit too sweet. But if they've liked, say, a Sam Adams lager, Boston lager, but they found it bitter, or a Negro Modelo or something, this would be a nice way to segue into a hoppier beer, but it has that familiarity of that malty backbone that they're used to drinking. And I'm not going to say what kind of hops or anything like that. I mean, 45 IBUs. I mean, it's smooth. You can pair this with almost anything. It's just there to kind of cleanse your palate and let you get on with your evening and chatting with your friends, and it doesn't get in your way. But man, I wish that came through better on the camera because you can see through it. But it does have that coloring of a Sam Adams that I remember. I mean, the Boston Lager is my least favorite beer they've ever, well, except for for Noble Pills, which they still make, which I can't fathom why they still make it. It is literally their worst beer I've ever had. I'm not saying it's the worst they've made because I've not had everything they've ever made, but it is. I've known of, I should say, because I didn't know firsthand, secondhand, of bars that sent kegs back because it's horrible. It's just really horrible. Bring back Golden Pilsner. That was good. That was a good Pilsner. And I still use some of those bottles from the 90s because they're nice and thick. But as you let this warm up, the bitterness will tone and the malts will come up a little bit more, like with any good beer. And but no, this is good. I mean, I like this. I think on Untapped, I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I've had a couple other beers similar to this that I liked a little bit better. And there is definitely something that I taste in almost every beer of theirs. And I don't know if it's, I mean, it could be a house yeast. I don't know if there's something. This is like years ago with my own home brewing. It was always there. It was just easier to mask sometimes. In fact, a couple people said there's this odd aftertaste, and I changed the entire way I was sanitizing everything. And the first time it made it worse. It actually got skunky, and I went a completely different direction, and it went away. And so it could be something very difficult to find, but every beer of theirs I've had has had this oddness. Now this one, I think was canned. This feels like it is a secondary fermentation naturally and then canned. I mean, obviously I don't know for certain. I have talked to the owner and the brewer, but I need to talk to them when there's not people there. Maybe sit down and maybe somehow do an interview. I don't know. But other beers like the pumpkin stout that I did, it was like a bright tank and it was like a soda. It was like the air stone's too large. As soon as you pour it, it's all gone. All the fizz is gone. All the head is gone. This one sticks around and it's holding on to the glass, which makes me think they've also got some other malts in there that are doing that. You can do that with oats too. You just got to be careful not to get too much protein or it gets cloudy, especially a chill haze. And that's one of the things that as a home brewer, I struggle with on my some of my pale beers is a chill haze. There's no off flavor. It just means you've got too much proteins in your beer when you bottle it, and then when you chill it down, it shows up in solution. But some people like that. Some beers you want that, but if you don't want it, it's a nightmare. And if I remember correctly, it's because I'm not cold crashing fast enough, but that may not be true. I do a lot of things skim. I do skim my boils and all that other stuff. And this kind of reminds me, I just had a flashback back to the 90s. I forget the name of the brewery, but they had a German Verum that was more golden than this, but it had a similar aroma. And no, it wasn't a hoppy beer. It was a German, I forget what kind of style it is. I don't think it's a lager. I think it's an old school ale that they don't really make much anymore. Not kind of like a Kolsch, but darker golden color. But anyway, this is definitely, if you ever go in Damascus and you want, in my opinion, so far, the beers I've had of theirs, their best go-to beer is definitely Beaver Rage. You can get it on draft. I like it better on draft. It's kind of why the can is 4 out of 5. It's more of a 4.5 out of 5 for me on draft. But it's definitely the one that they go through the most. It is their flagship, as far as I can tell. I've been there a few times, and it's amazing how many people will be drinking this. There's another one, the sour is good too, and there's another one, can't remember the name of, is another one that people are buying in like crazy. So there you go. Let me know in the comments below what other Damascus beers. And I know there is a distillery in Damascus, which I also need to check out. And let me know of other stuff around there. I know there's another brewery north of there. The name escapes me. I was chatting. I was like trying to get out of food line. And someone was talking to me, and they said something, and it just kind of went through my ears. But they said, "Oh yeah, it's just north of Damascus." But around here, that could be 60 miles. So, because it's just you got to drive to get anywhere. So, thank you very much, and we'll see you. Goodbye.